What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Wednesday edition of the show, where once again we have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about. It's game week, ladies and gentlemen. This weekend, Saturday, noon Eastern time at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, Tennessee is taking on Syracuse. The offseason has been a long one. We all know that as Tennessee fans, but football season is finally here. Week 0 was last weekend, But this weekend, we've got week 1 of college football, and Tennessee has a big one coming up, a must-win, no doubt. And we're going to break down what the week 1 expectations are for Tennessee and Josh Heupel and Joey Aguilar and this football team this weekend. And we're also going to touch on a little bit at the end. Josh Heupel yesterday got his contract extension all the way through 2030, and just kind of touch on what Josh Heupel has done for this football program in his time here. Obviously about to start another season. He has absolutely revived Tennessee football compared to what it was a couple years ago, so we're going to touch on that as well. But we are here to talk about week 1. Tennessee football is back, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment, share it. All that is greatly appreciated. I appreciate you guys for all the love. Like I said last week, we sold our shirts last week, so everybody who bought a shirt, I greatly appreciate that. Those shirts will be coming soon. They are being printed right now and will be shipped to the designated location. Again, I greatly appreciate everybody who pitched in and bought a shirt. So let's get right into the football side of things, man. What are the expectations for Tennessee football this weekend? What's the expectations for Josh Heupel, Joey Aguilar, and this defense as a whole? What's the expectations for these receivers? We'll start with the defense, because I think that most people know the expectations for this defense, even without its best player in Jermon McCoy. This defense is supposed to be and should be one of the top 10 defenses, one of the premier defenses, and not only the SEC, but in the sport of college football this year. Last year, one of the best defenses in college football, and should be nothing less of that this year. I've said it time and time again. I think this year this defense will be better. Do you kind of lose some big names in the draft like you did a year prior? Maybe not first and second round guys like Omar Norman-Lott and James Pierce Jr., but you've got depth up there in the front 7 once again. You've got more pieces at linebacker. Obviously, Keenan Pili did not play a ton last year, but you've still got Arion Carter. You've still got Jeremiah Telander. We've heard great things about Edwin Spillman and some freshmen like Jaden Perlotti. Guys like that are going to play this year. And then in the back half, the best part of this defense, in my opinion, is that secondary. We know, like I just said, Jermon McCoy's not going to be playing this weekend, but Jermon McCoy, Colton Hood, the transfer from Colorado. We've got Ricky Gibson, Jalen McMurray, and then Andre Turrentine, Idris Farouk, Caleb Beasley back there at the safety positions. This defense is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with this year. So what should we expect from him in week 1? You've got this Syracuse offense who's having to return nearly all of its production from last year. Kyle McCord set the single-season ACC record for passing yards last year. He's gone. He went to the draft. Trevor Pena, their best receiver last year, has transferred to Penn State, left in the middle of spring football this past year. LaQuint Allen, the leading rusher for last year's team, is gone. Oronda Gaddison, the top tight end for that team last year, is gone to the NFL as well. So like I said, you are virtually replacing everything. And you can say that, but Tennessee's kind of doing the same thing. So they're replacing just about everything on that offensive side of the football this year. They've got Jonte Cook playing receiver this year. They've got Steve Angeli, the transfer from Notre Dame, playing quarterback. So what can this defense do to prevent Syracuse from scoring a lot of points in this game? I know that sounds pretty cliche and pretty basic. That's what a defense is supposed to do, is stop the other team from scoring. But what will a successful weekend look like? Well, the spread of this game is 14 points. Tennessee's favored by 14 points. I think a successful weekend for the Vols is giving up no more than 14 points this year. We saw them go, 4 to 5 weeks last year into the season without giving up an offensive touchdown. That's even with a game to NC State. But I think if you give up no more than 14 points this year, then you're going to, or this weekend, that you're going to have a very successful weekend, and you're going to go home saying that your defense played a very, very good game in Atlanta. I think that they're going to have to get some pressure, to get Steve Angeli riled up quickly, because he's been a backup his whole career. Like I said, from Notre Dame, hasn't played a ton of legitimate football. Get pressure on him early. Joshua Josephs has got to get to the quarterback. Tyree West, guys like that, they're going to have to get to the quarterback. Bryce Neeson, Don Bailey. The list goes on. Like I said, a lot of depth in that front 7 at the defensive line. So getting pressure on Steve Angeli, not letting him have all day back there to throw, and the reality of it is these guys are going to be fresh because, again, there's a lot of depth. We saw it last year with guys rotating in and out depending on the snap, depending on the down. Just getting to Steve Angeli early in the game and not letting him get in a rhythm. And to kind of go along with that, you got to get off the field on 3rd and down. When it's 3rd and medium, 3rd and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, you got to get off the field, man. You can't let Steve Angeli, who has some legs, he's not he's a mobile guy. You can't let him run around back there and make some plays down the field. Not that that's a huge threat, not that Syracuse, again, it does not necessarily have the playmakers to just consistently convert on 3rd and long and 3rd and medium, but you've got to get off the field early on in this game to make that statement and make it known of, okay, this is what this Tennessee defense is going to bring this game and for the rest of the year. So I think that's kind of what it looks like, and I think you have to force at least 1, maybe 2 turnovers. That being a pick, maybe a turnover on downs. Definitely an interception would be nice, a fumble recovery, but you've got to force at least 1 to 2 turnovers. You've got to win the turnover battle. That means Joey Aguilar can't turn it over, or we can't fumble on the offensive side of the football, but you've got to force some turnovers. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, which I know that's what a lot of people want to hear, because, again, Syracuse doesn't have the most electric offense, and we know how good this defense is supposed to be, but on the offensive side of the football, what do you want to see from... I'll start with the receivers because I know we all want to know what do we want to see from Joey Aguilar. But with the receivers, man, you want to see some separation. I know the basic answer would be you want to see some deep balls completed. And yes, that is more than true. You want to see some deep balls connected in this offense to start this game off, especially if it's early. If Joey Aguilar, can connect on a deep ball or 2, these fans will lose their mind in Atlanta, and these fans will lose their mind all over the place, all Tennessee fans. If Joey Aguilar can connect on a few deep balls early in this game, Tennessee fans will be in a frenzy. So on the offensive side of the football, the receivers have to get separation. I'd love to see at least one of them have a big game, a 6 reception, 107 yards, and a touchdown game. Nothing crazy like Jalen Hyatt, 5 touchdowns, but just a solid 8 receptions, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Kind of having a guy being your alpha in the receiver room. I'm not saying that guy has to be your alpha the rest of the year, whether that's a Mike Matthews, a Braylon Staley, a Chris Brazzell, somebody to somewhat make a statement of saying this receiver room is going to be all right. I'm going to be here to make plays. Again, regardless of who that is, even if it's a Radarius Jackson or a Travis Smith, which would be awesome for the 2 freshmen. But a guy having a big-time game this weekend, I think that is really what needs to be seen. And then just not as many drops. Obviously, it's not like Tennessee had a horrible drop problem last year, but you want to see hands from these receivers because, like I said, and as we know, the receivers simply have not played a ton in fall camp. Mike Matthews has been banged up. Chris Brazzell has been banged up, and then he had his whole legal deal with the driver's license, not a big deal at all. And then he starts practicing, but that was late into fall camp. Braylon Staley was banged up all fall camp. So a lot of these guys don't have necessarily a ton of reps with Joey Aguilar. And so you want to see guys being on the same page, whether that's on a slant, on a comeback. It's not easy to just go out there and throw to brand new receivers. Not that these guys are brand new per se. You get what I'm saying. But just quarterbacks and receivers being on the same page. On the running side of offense, getting away from the receivers just a little bit, you want to see this team assert the run game early. And I can guarantee you that's what this first drive script, the beginning of this game, that's what Josh Heupel wants to do, is start this run game, get it going early, and free up the offense for Joey Aguilar. Get him comfortable in this game early with the run game. Obviously with Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, establish the run game early, pound the rock, and get some RPO and play actions going. Get some easy completions, even to a running back, for Joey Aguilar, just to get his flow, get him into the feel of the game. I think that one of our running backs is going to have a huge game. I'm not saying I know who or what they're going to do, but it just feels to me like a Peyton Lewis type of game, a game where Tennessee kind of gets up early, maybe 1, 2 to 3 scores on these guys, and they start just pounding the rock and one of Deshaun Bishop or Peyton Lewis just starts running it all over the Syracuse Orange, and the Vols just start running away with this one. But, the run game just has to get established. I'm not saying they've got to run for 300 yards, but open it up for Joey Aguilar and Josh Heupel for this play calling and get things started early. Now, for Joey Aguilar, this is going to be, is it as fast as the Hendon Hooker offense? No, but this offense this year, regardless of who the quarterback is, no matter what, a Tennessee Josh Heupel-led offense, it is going to be the fastest offense that Syracuse has faced in a long, long time. Obviously, they played Miami last year, who had a upbeat offense, not nearly as fast as our offense, as in my opinion, beat Miami last year. But I think this is going to be the most fast-paced. Josh Heupel likes to snap the ball within 20 seconds of each other, each down, each snap. So I think that this is going to be the fastest-paced offense that Syracuse has faced in quite some time. So what does that look like? Again, it looks like establishing the run game early. It looks like getting some RPOs in, hitting some slants, hitting some comeback routes, and getting Joey Aguilar in the swing of things. And I tweeted on Locked On Vols, Eric Kane's mailbag edition, and I replied, and I said, what is the Tennessee fan base going to do if Joey Aguilar comes out and leads this offense to 40-plus points on Saturday? I'm not saying that's my prediction. I'm not trying to get you to drink the Joey Aguilar Kool-Aid and say that, oh yeah, this team's going to come out here and lay 40 points on the board. But what if? What if Joey Aguilar leads this team to a 40-point outing on Saturday against a lesser opponent? Let's just be real with ourselves, an ACC opponent at that, where they're known not to play too much defense. If they can get established early, and if Joey Aguilar can lead this team to a high-scoring outing, these fans will be in a frenzy. And the Georgia game will be looming. ETSU is your first home game. Everybody's going to want to get that game out of the way, and the Georgia Bulldogs will be in Neyland Stadium 2 weeks from Saturday. Joey Aguilar could also come out here and throw for 150 yards and a touchdown and a pick, and it's a really ugly, sloppy win. I hope that doesn't happen. My kind of final, I'm not going to give too many final predictions today because that's what our Friday episode is for. But I think that Joey Aguilar is going to get started early. I think that we're a lot better than the Syracuse team, just to be quite frankly honest with you guys. And I think that this defense is going to make some plays, put Joey Aguilar in good positions with good field position. And Joey Aguilar is going to have about 2 to 3 touchdowns passing. I'm going to hope for no turnovers and about 200 yards passing, which would be an incredible outing for Joey Aguilar in this offense with all that's gone on this offseason. So that leads me to say, just from a general overview, what are the expectations for Week 1? I just went over all of that, but what do you want to see from Week 1? A dominant win. That's what I'm going to say. You want to see a dominant win this Week 1 against Syracuse in Atlanta, because you are top to bottom, you are so much better than this Syracuse team. Again, lost so much production from last year, and don't get me wrong, Tennessee did too, but think about how much Tennessee lost. Again, Tennessee fans watching this show, you know how much production we lost, and times that by 2, and Syracuse lost that much. Like, it is a brand new team under Fran Brown, who is an incredible coach, by the way. This is going to be a well-coached team, but from top to bottom, this is a much better Tennessee team than it is a Syracuse team. So I think that overall you want to see a dominant win. You want to see Joey Aguilar look comfortable. That doesn't mean, again, Joey Aguilar throwing for 300 yards, but you just want to see him look comfortable in this offense, look comfortable behind the line of scrimmage, making audibles and calls at the line of scrimmage. You want him to look in control of this offense. You want to see the running game get established. You want to see good things from the receivers. I don't need to get into all of that again. And then on the defensive side of the football, you want to see some takeaways. You want to see some getting to the quarterback early, generating some pressure, not letting the quarterback get comfortable. And that secondary just holding it down without their best player in Jermon McCoy, and hope that you have him by Week 3 for the Georgia Bulldogs. So, I mean, that's kind of my little overview of what to expect for Week 1, what you should expect, what you should want for Week 1 in a bit of a realistic sense. I mean, obviously we would all want a 50-point win, but just a realistic sense, I feel like that is what you could see and the expectations for week one. Josh Heupel is going to have this team ready to play this weekend. Now, also, on the topic of Josh Heupel, like I said, I wanted to touch on this a little bit here towards the end. Josh Heupel signs an extension through 2030, $9 million a year for the guy. It is absolutely the fact that the question of is Josh Heupel Tennessee's guy, the fact I see that sometimes, it absolutely blows my mind. I think if everybody took 10 seconds to remember where we were at 7 to 8 years ago, you would be like, wow, why am I even considering this? Josh Heupel is about to be the longest tenured head coach that Tennessee has had since Philip Fulmer, and that should just automatically show you what he has done for this program. Danny White had to say, the revival of our program under Josh's leadership has made everyone in Big Orange Country proud to be a Vol. White goes on to say, Josh has brought Tennessee football back to its rightful place among the nation's elite programs, and he and his staff have fostered a positive culture within the team. Our commitment to supporting Josh and his staff remains strong and unwavering. So again, through 2030, the guy is going to be here for a while, and every Tennessee fan, if you aren't excited about this news, you need to go sleep under a bridge or do something, because that's just, it's Josh Heupel is Tennessee's guy, and what he has done for this Tennessee football program, him, his staff, and Danny White as well, coming from UCF, that was the best hire in a long time that Tennessee has had, and just like Danny White said, Josh has brought Tennessee football back to its rightful place among the nation's elite program. Obviously, a lot of people like to poke fun at Tennessee, but years ago when we were the brick by brick with Butch Jones and had loaded teams, I mean, I go back and watch that Oklahoma and Tennessee game pretty often, and I just get reminded of all the NFL talent and all the studs that were on that defense with Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings. Those teams were loaded. If those guys were coached by Josh Heupel, they are, call me a Tennessee bias, they are in contention for a Tennessee national championship. But they weren't. It's night and day from brick by brick to what we have right now with Josh Heupel. He is Tennessee's guy, and he is going to be here for quite some time. But I greatly appreciate you guys for joining me on this Wednesday edition of From the Bench Vols. Let me know in the comments if you are going to the game this weekend. I will be there. I'm driving up Saturday morning. If you see me, feel free to say hi. I'm very excited. If you watched the show last year, you know how much I love going to Tennessee football games. It is my absolute favorite thing to do in this world. So again, let me know if you guys are going to the game. I wish everybody safe travels if they are going Saturday, but I will see you guys on Friday with our predictions, our first pregame show in so long is what it feels like. Again, it has been such a long offseason for us Tennessee fans, just with all the drama. But I will see you guys on Friday with our predictions to the Tennessee versus Syracuse game. I appreciate you guys for joining me today, and go Vols.